In this video, I thought I would share with you some photographers I find who are inspirational. Um, there's a zillion photographers out there, and the neat thing about it is there's photographers telling all different kinds of stories, stories that will you can connect to. So I encourage you to do that. It's a great way to learn lots of things. It's a great way to learn techniques. It's a great way to find inspiration, to be thinking, I want to go make something too, instead of just sitting on the couch. The other thing that's cool about looking at the works of other photographers is finding something totally unexpected, something you would never think of yourself that makes you go, "Oh my goodness, I didn't know I needed that." So hopefully, in these photographers I show you, you might get a hint of this. These are by far not all the photographers I follow and find inspiration from, but they're, I think, some of the easiest to talk about for a variety of reasons. I will include in the description below links to their websites and YouTube channels and Instagram channels as appropriate, as I have the links. So here we go. Let's start with the first one. The first one is named Sean Tucker. Sean Tucker has an interesting story and journey, and I think one of the reasons I kind of resonate with him is he didn't take a direct path to being a photographer, to doing what he's doing now. He has a great way of teaching and showing, and I love his thinking about photography. I discovered him first on YouTube's through suggested videos, and then he's become one of my favorites. I really like how he thinks about photography. And the photographs I'm really enjoying of his lately they're in London, and so that has a connection to a place I've been once and want to return to again. And he's doing this awesome version of street photography where he's photographing people, and what he does is he camps out when he finds light and scenes that are interesting, and then he waits for someone to walk into it and finish the photo. On his YouTube channel, he talks about his process, which is quite fascinating. And I love these two photos, these little pockets of light, these windows of light that people are entering. Again, the people are somewhat anonymous, but they do complete the story. They are individuals, the gentleman carrying the bag and the coffee cup, even though he's wearing the typical blue suit and tie of London business. And the lady on the right, also with a bag, with that splash of yellow in the photo, and just how she's positioned perfectly in that pocket of light there. Just awesome photos. So what I love about Sean's work and what inspires me about some of this work is thinking about being intentional. Have an idea, find it, and then be patient to complete it. I often will do one or two of those things, but not necessarily all of them. Here's one more from Sean, Shadow and Mystery, with this gentleman in the just catching the corner of the light. So he's half lit and half in shadow, and there's just enough light here to see him, that he's present, but he's still a mystery in the scene. So again, also here's exposure examples in addition to composition. So he's making some exposure decisions that these little shafts of light are the subject, the main subject. So that's what gets the correct exposure, and everything else goes dark around it. Very dramatic, very interesting, and I want to try some more of this kind of stuff. I find this really resonates with me. All right, so that's Sean Tucker. Number two, the second one, is also from the UK, Joshua Jackson. He's a street photographer, similar to what some of Sean's work here does. So he's got these scenes as well of London and walking around, and Joshua Jackson's a little more. Let me think the phrase. People-centric. The people are a little more the star of the show or the city around them, rather than just the light. Sean really leverages the light. Joshua here is more about a lot of ways the people. I love the framing of this through this black cab window, the lady with the umbrella, just walking in the wind-blown hair. Really neat little moment. Well seen. Again, scouted out probably, or you saw it and just waited for someone to walk by. Really awesome. The second one here, I love the layers. You've got the street scene. You're like, why'd you take a picture of the car out there? And then you realize, oh, there's someone reflected in the window, wearing a cowboy hat, it looks like. In London, it's kind of different. All the lights, all the blurry. Again, dramatic, emotional content here through the mood of the exposure. And then the layers, very mysterious. I really like that. I like photos that draw you in. That invite you to look at them deeper and to look at them longer so that you invest more time and your own story into completing the vision of the photo. Third one here, Fiona Larkins. Discovered her through an interview Sean Tucker did with her. And she's really interesting, very artsy. So let me just show you this first photo. What she does, she lives, I think, in northern England, and in a kind of remote place. And she does self-portraits because she couldn't find anybody else around to take photos of, or maybe she was shy about it. I think that was more likely it. So she does these amazing self-portraits and then does these moody treatments in software. I'm guessing some Lightroom and Photoshop. But these striking, mysterious, moody, mostly black and whites. Again, there's a timeless element to these. It's personal and vulnerable, but at the same time, it's you still don't know her very much. She's still kind of hidden. So fascinating work. Again, here's another one. She's facing the camera, but you don't fully see her face. Still very mysterious. You almost kind of want to whisper as you talk about these photos. Again, I just love the mood here. My thought, what inspires me from this is to be brave and daring and do something that I haven't seen before. I don't know what that is, but I want to discover it. I want to do my own thing. Which is oftentimes a combination of what a bunch of people have done before in new and exciting way, I hope. So Fiona, with her quiet, introspective, moody self-portraits, it's just so fascinating. So fascinating. Next up, James Popsys, another Englander. He's, if you watch his YouTube channel, he's probably the most of these folks, the most boisterous. He's got quite a big personality and he's quite fun. But his photos, what I like about them, he's primarily a landscape photographer. So his photos, one of the reasons I really like his photos is he includes some kind of human element to give a scale, a sense of size to what the rest of the scene is. So in this photo with the small boat at the bottom, well, sure, it's a big boat, but it gives a sense of, oh my gosh, how big is this scene you're looking at? So very, very creative. I love his use of post-processing. He does add some drama in post, and I like that. He's adding his own element of creation to completing the photo and the story he wants to tell. Here's another one of this, I believe it's up in Norway, scene with the busy hillside with all the houses, the colorful houses, and then again for a little bit of scale, the person on the snow sled with the dogs being pulled. It's a quiet photo, lots of layers here in ways, and it's again the human element just makes it a sense of scale and interest. Yeah. Lastly here from James, this very moody scene of mostly nothing except for that little bird. Again, for a sense of scale. It's quiet. It's a kind of a very minimalist composition, somewhat symmetrical with the horizon line in the middle of the photo and water below, clouds above. So it's peaceful, moody. Again, James, for me, the inspiration point I take from him is to not forget to include elements that help people understand a little bit more about what they're looking at. So he includes elements for scale and that gives a little deeper sense of awe even to the thing you're looking at, the rest of the scene you're looking at. So to include that to make the photo even more dramatic and impactful. That's what I'm taking from James. Next up, Cecilia Bohm. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. And I know her from Instagram. I think I don't remember who followed who first, but I love her. She does primarily macro flower photos. And what the inspiration I take from her photos, is they're very technical. But that's not the first thing you see. The first thing you see when you look at her photos is just how lovely and amazing, and again, a sense of moody here with the darker backgrounds, but the colors and just how you just get a sense of nature out of these. But I know they're highly technical photos. She's probably on a tripod, and she's got really good lenses, and she's taking her time and positioning the camera just so relative to everything else in the photo. I don't think she's taking water around with her or glycerin to get these water drops. She has a lot of water drops on her photos, but I think it's just the way it is. She lives in Europe. I want to say Scandinavia somewhere. Anyway, again, also the technical part of these photos, exposure-wise plus post-processing-wise, the inspiration I take away from her work is to not be afraid of the technical to help me say what I want to say visually and in the stories I want to tell. To be patient, to take the time to do it right in the camera, to get it and be intentional in the type of photos I want to tell. So from all these people, I'm learning a little something and trying to incorporate them in my photos. Got a couple more. Got Nick Page here, another landscape photographer, big landscape photographer. He lives in the Pacific Northwest, Eastern Washington, but he takes photos all over the world. He's some of his photos I love the most are his seascapes, and he goes out in the dramatic weather and will take lots and lots of photos to get an image like this with just this really neat shape that the crashing waves make and the birds flying in and out. Just lovely, lovely drama. Amazing. Similar here. Love the way the light, the waves are backlit and they almost look like glass. They look like sculptural elements. So my takeaway from Nick is you got to be uncomfortable sometimes. Get off the couch. Get up early. Stay up late. Go out in the rain. Find the light. Find the moments. Be uncomfortable. It's the reminder. That's where the interesting stuff is. The reason most people don't take pictures of it is because it's uncomfortable. So, get off my butt. That's my inspiration from Nick. Thomas Heaton here, the last one, is one of the first YouTubers I started following a few years ago. And I just like his presence, another Englishman. I like his style and personality. So, and then I really like his photos as well. I buy a calendar from him each year, so his photos are hanging in my bathroom. So, this is one of my favorites of his. It's just so moody and simple, and the element of the tree in front of the mountains, the way they complement each other, the care he took in the composition to line up the tree branches relative to the mountain behind, the relative quiet of the whole thing, just stunning. Lovely, lovely, quiet, dramatic, impactful scene. My takeaway from Thomas is, and I'll show it a little bit in the next photo too, is to not lean into tricks so much. The tricks I lean into and they're not really tricks, but they can become crutches. So for me, one of the crutches I'll use is shallow depth of field, and I'll get really, really close to stuff. And I enjoy doing that. But it can be a gimmick, a crutch, where you're doing that because the rest, I was too lazy to go find the really interesting thing or do other things. So the other crutch I sometimes lean on is post-processing, pushing the photo color or light in software because the scene isn't quite strong enough to just live mostly by itself. Thomas is a very understated editor. He doesn't do too much. He'll maybe do some contrast and saturation, maybe some local adjustments if it just needs it. But he's mostly a nudger of post processing. He doesn't get the big hammer out, and I sometimes will tend to get the big hammer out. And sometimes the reason I do that is because my photo isn't as strong. The original image needs more catch up than it really should, because it's trying to cover up something that's not as strong by itself. So those are a few of the photographers I find inspiration in. To paraphrase a movie line, they make me want to be a better photographer. And that's what inspiration is all about. You want to grow, you want to improve, and these folks help me want to do that. So I hope that was a helpful list. If you have other photographers you find inspirational, I would love to know more about them. Please leave those names in the links below, the comments below. If you have a link to their website or YouTube channel, that'd be awesome to share that as well. Any comments are welcome. I hope this is helpful as you seek inspiration to grow and improve in your photography. So until we meet again on this channel, wish you the best in taking photos and finding the inspiration to help you grow.